Modern Warfare 2 is one of my favourite Call of Duty campaigns ever, and I'm going to take you through the whole story and everything that happens in the campaign. Of course, there will be spoilers ahead. First, we must go to the very beginning. We immediately start in Al-Mazrah with the opportunity to play as Ghost for the first time ever. Let me start by just saying this game looks simply incredible and feels incredibly immersive, and you'll see more of that as we move through the missions. As Ghost, we arrive at an arms deal to find a terrorist target named General Ghobrani. On comms, we have CIA agent Kate Laswell, who you may remember from Modern Warfare 2019, General Shepard, and Commander Philip Graves from the Shadow Company. Once we confirm the target is there, a missile is launched towards the location, in which we do get to pilot. I can't lie, it did feel like I was pod racing on Tatooine. Anyway, this missile absolutely obliterates Ghobrani, his soldiers, and the Russians at the deal. Several months later, Hassan Zyani, Ghobrani's second in command, decides that he wants to retaliate towards the US for the death of General Ghobrani. Ghost and Soap are sent out into Al-Mazrah, where it is believed Hassan is hiding with the terrorist group Al-Qatala. Playing as Soap, we must infiltrate the AQ hideout with the mission to capture or kill Hassan. This mission is pretty cool, with some more tactical elements to it, and of course, classic night vision goggles. As we begin to scope out our attack area, our helicopter is taken down, and we now also have to check and try and secure the crash site for any surviving allies. As we work our way through the buildings, I find that I'm probably not cut out for real life military operations, as I do flash myself rather than the enemies. After dealing with the enemies, this woman then thinks it's a great idea to try and kill me, to which she swiftly popped. We arrive at the crash site to find 5 KIA, 1 wounded and 1 living, at which point we begin to be surrounded by enemy Al-Qatala and must fend them off while we wait for air support. The 1 wounded does end up dying, to which Al-Qatala then decide to bring in some armoured vehicles. Now obviously at the perfect time, air support arrives and clears the path for us to move ahead. As we begin to move on the building where we believe Hassan is hiding, snipers begin to land the roof and start trying to take us out. It's left to me to take them all out with my sniper in order to continue advancing. As we begin to breach the building, AQ seem to have found some sneaky little hiding places, but of course they're no match for 141. We find we have just missed Hassan, and of course it wasn't going to be that easy. After spotting and moving out to a nearby outbuilding, we're quickly ambushed by the remaining AQ and they are swiftly dealt with. In a huge revelation, we find out that Hassan has a hold of American missiles, which is a bit of a problem to say the least. Laswell wants to look into everyone who dealt with the missiles, while Shepard wants them immediately destroyed and everything kept under wraps. Interesting. Laswell shifts focus to Amsterdam as she believes it's a smuggling hub, as the ports and canals are quite insecure. She sends herself back on the field with the intention of meeting no other than Captain Price and Gaz. Price and Sergeant Garrick, also known as Gaz, are sent to secure a boat in the hopes of gathering further intel. We do play Gaz in this mission and get to experience some of the new swimming and water mechanics, which do look and feel very nice. I can't lie, this mission was a struggle for me. I'm absolutely terrible at stealth, and it was pretty dark, so I could barely figure out which boat I even needed to get to. Now obviously the docks are crawling with AQ, so it's our job to take them out, and with nothing more than a knife and a throwing knife. Now as I said, I'm terrible at stealth and I do end up getting spotted, but also finding myself a gun, which makes things much easier for me as I just opted for the using a gun approach. After taking out the AQ on the docks, we relink with Price in order to move in on the target boat. On board we find Mexican cartel members from Las Almas, and as we move through the boat we do hear a phone in the bathroom. Now I thought I'd be smart here and try to shoot him through the wall, but apparently tiles are bulletproof. Once we do kill him, the phone on the last cartel member gives us intel on a meet set between the Las Almas cartel and Al-Qatala. This sends us undercover in Amsterdam, where we meet with Laswell. The mission is to secure an Iranian who's believed to be working with the cartel. This is in the hopes that we can get more intel on Hassan and where these missiles might be located. I was honestly wowed by how good this mission looked. I've been to Amsterdam before and I genuinely felt like I was there again. It looked simply stunning. Now we did locate 2 cartel guards and quietly take them out. Now Captain Price thinks we need a distraction as there could be more guards in the area, so he does give us a decoy grenade. Now I was caught out by this and I don't think I was alone. I thought we would just have to throw it down this alley after Laswell says to do so, but instead she wanted us to place it in a bin. It could have been a bit more clear there. Anyway, it baits out the cartel guards and we managed to secure the person of interest. Laswell then gets in touch with Colonel Alejandro Vargas at the US-Mexico border. She believes Hassan is being smuggled over the border. In the search for Hassan, we play as Major Rodolfo Parra, who is Alejandro's second in command. We stumble upon Hassan and a few cartel members just as they are crossing the border. Laswell advises against it, but we give chase into the US anyway. Moving tactically through a residential area, being cautious not to shoot any civilians. Oops. We then come across enemy cartel members before continuing to give chase. We're then met by local PD who Laswell sent to help us, in which they decide to shoot me anyway with my weapon away and hands up. After trying again, they realise who we are before being RPG'd and ambushed by the cartel. Alejandro tells Rodolfo to push forward into the house that is being protected by the cartel and sweep the rooms. On the last one, Rodolfo is caught by surprise by Hassan and his guards, who then, rather than killing us, decides to burn us alive in the house. Alejandro, being our knight in shining armour, decides to run into the burning building and carry us to safety. Hassan is taken into cartel protection in Las Almas, and Mexican special forces confirm that something sizable is moving towards the US, which could be the missing missiles. Sub and Ghost are sent to link up with Alejandro and Rodolfo, with extra support from Graves and the Shadow Company to move into Las Almas. We are driven through the streets where we find out El Sin Hombre is the leader of the Las Almas cartel, but nobody knows who he is. We work our way through a cartel hideout in the hopes of finding Hassan, but once again he has just escaped us. The Mexican army who work for the cartel are sent in as reinforcements after the attack on the hideout. After engaging in combat, we have to fall back into the mountains of Mexico. The army on our tail, we try to secure extraction, but of course the mountains are blocking our communications. After some more combat and taking down more of the army, we have nowhere left to move on the mountain and are forced to jump off something that would probably kill you. After somehow surviving, we make our way down the river, where Shadow Company provides us with some much needed air support just as we're pinned down. Graves gives us a possible hit on Hassan in a cartel compound, and we begin to make our way there. We then get some real fun where we play as a Shadow Company operator in what I presume is an AC-130. I'm not a plane expert, and this is all I can compare it to. We get to provide air support while Ghost and the ground team move in towards the compound. This did feel super fun and reminded me of the mission Death from Above in Call of Duty 4. I felt like an absolute unit in this thing. Now, being careful not to kill the ground team, they do push in and finally manage to secure and capture Hassan. The AC-130 goodness doesn't end there, as we must provide air support while the cartel try to ambush the ground team and take Hassan back into their protection. We get a good 10 minutes of fun while trying to protect the ground team and wait for air extraction to get them to safety. We comms-link through to Laswell and Shepard and interrogate Hassan for further intel. However, he gives us nothing and we have to let him go as we have no reason to hold or kill him. Understandably, everyone is pretty pissed off. However, we did manage to hack his phone, which leads us to a hatchery used by the cartel on the coast of Spain. Price and Gaz mention ghillie suits and I immediately start pitching a tent. I was really hoping for a Ghillies in the Mist type mission, and this is exactly what we get. Laswell on her own just off the coast, and Gaz and Price are on land, moving in towards the hatchery. As we move towards the first target building, the area is crawling with cartel, and there is certainly some butt-clenching moments. We get some cool optional dialogue between the main characters as we continue through the mission. It's clear there's something hiding here, as there's a lot of our men around. It's time to get busy, and with Price giving us distance measurements, we take out everyone around the building together, with a couple 2-in-1s as well. Price tells Gaz to move in, where we're quickly met with a patrol and get the option of waiting or engaging. Now, I did clench up a bit here, but I did wait as I felt like that was the right thing to do and what would actually happen. We end up moving towards the first building and flush them out with some tear gas in the vents. Pretty smart if I do say so myself. While looking for the missiles, we find a lot of drugs and some cool golden guns, but it's not what we're after. We continue moving through the buildings and once more I show my expertise. After that fuck up, I still somehow take them all out, probably because I'm on regular difficulty. We don't find any missiles here either, but we do find plans that inform us there's actually tunnels under the lighthouse. Price links up with us for some more sniper action before moving in on the buildings and taking out the rest of the guards inside. We then have to hunt around for a tunnel entrance, which just happens to be behind a washing machine. Smart. As we enter the tunnels, we find more cartel members and a submarine. Alcatraz spot a move in on Laswell, and all we can do is try to snipe as many as possible. But Laswell is captured. Without Shepard's help, Price starts a rescue mission to secure Laswell, who's now in Urzikstan. This is where we receive help from no other than Farah and the Liberation Force. This was perhaps one of the most fun and unique missions throughout the game. We play as Gaz providing help from a helicopter before being hit from an anti-air missile and falling out of the helicopter to being held upside down barely above the road. We must provide help in this situation as best we can before we have the ability to cut ourselves loose and hijack a truck, which is a pretty cool mechanic they've added to this game. Now we have to manage driving and stopping to lean out and shoot, or we continue chasing this convoy in the hope of rescuing Laswell. Although I really enjoyed this mission, it was at times pretty frustrating trying to do both things at once and trying not to blow up your vehicle with armoured enemies shooting at you and people throwing mines at you. I don't know where the rest of the squad vanished to, but at this point I felt pretty alone, like I was James Bond. We eventually relink with the squad and get the opportunity to use a grenade launcher, which was pretty fun. We must then split off again, and I have to take down an APC all on my own, again, and I'm not sure where the spore was. The AQ convoy eventually comes to a stop, and we rescue Laswell. Turns out the missiles were never in Spain, it was just the guidance systems provided to them by the Russians. We switch back over to Soap, Ghost, Graves and Alejandro, who are moving in on a meet held by a cartel lieutenant to discuss the recent setbacks. It is believed that El Sin Nombre will also be there, who's the only one who can help with locating the missiles. Soap volunteers to go in as a hostage and offer intel about the squad in a bid to strike a deal and gain information about the missiles. Alejandro does back him up with Ghost on Overwatch. Now Alejandro somehow gets himself a uniform and gives us a quick pep talk by telling us not to lie about any information we give them. With a cool little throwback reference, we're led to Sin Hombre's personal hitman Valeria. She will judge to see if what information we have is worthy of being listened to by Sin Hombre himself. After going through some multiple choice answers and witnessing some incredible cinematic work, Valeria believes we're telling the truth and leaves us with the other people in the compound. We must find our way to the penthouse in the hope of capturing El Sin Hombre. We can do this by capturing the roof or stealing the keycard, the choice is ours. Again, I suck at stealth, but I somehow managed to get to the roof. We make our way through the penthouse with Alejandro, and where it's revealed, Valeria is actually El Sin Hombre. We breached through and I had to do this part far too many times because somehow I kept shooting Valeria through the wall. Far too many times. Eventually Graves comes in with some extra support and we capture Valeria. It turns out Valeria and Alejandro actually served with each other in the military, but she killed the previous cartel leader and kinda stole his job. She tells us where the missiles are, but not Hassan just yet until we come back. This intel leads us to an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico. Playing as Soap, we work our way through the oil rig, which definitely give me some wet work vibes. As we reach the armed missile, it turns out the controls are actually on the nearby ship. After some crazy GTA type boat maneuvers, not only do we have to deal with the people shooting at us, but also moving containers that will kill us. It definitely was a really nice touch to add some extra immersion to the mission though. We take down all the remaining AQ and are left with no option but to detonate the missile on launch and must help Graves out with some more multiple choice options. The pressure did get to me as I couldn't differentiate between rows and columns. I guess I'll have to spend more time in Excel. As we all return to Alejandro's base, it turns out Graves is a massive bellend and takes it for his own operation, approved by Shepard. His name turns red, which can only mean one thing. He's turned and shit's about to go down. He's imprisoned all of Alejandro's men. With some warranted retaliation, Alejandro is captured, Soap is shot, and him and Ghost barely manage to escape, with Graves sending out a search party. Soap and Ghost manage to link comms, and what follows in my opinion is the hardest mission in the game. We must try relink with Ghost without any weapons. We do come across the Shadow Company patrols and find out Graves and the Shadow Company are killing and executing everyone on site, committing horrendous war crimes. Ghost guides us through building tools to help our survival, and we're introduced to a cool backpack system. We must work our way through the patrols without being found and get to Ghost. Now this was a pretty long mission, and there's cool things along the way, along with some good banter between Ghost and Soap. I did manage to find some safes along the way, which did give me a Desert Eagle and a crossbow, but they didn't last too long. After becoming a little frustrated with the mission, I went for the ball to the wall approach, which somehow seemed to work. After some more cool underwater combat and working our way through the town, we meet up with Ghost, take down some more Shadow Company, and get the fuck out of there. We make our way to Alejandro's safe house, who gave Ghost the location just in case. Here we find Rodolfo, and with a mission to save Alejandro, who's been held in an old prison. Alejandro's safe house just so happens to have a huge stash of weapons and an armoured vehicle to take advantage of. After planning our covert attack, we get a taste of some more ghillie type sniping before taking over the CCTV room. This is where we get introduced to something else which is new to the COD franchise, and honestly, it reminded me of the original Metal Gear Solid games. We must guide Ghost through the outside of the prison, instructing him where to move, when to move, who to kill and how to kill them, while planting charges on the vehicles and obviously not being spotted. I actually really enjoyed this part of the mission, and I thought it was really well done. We then move inside the prison, take out the rest of the shadows and rescue Alejandro and his team. While trying to escape and in the need of backup, we're joined by no other than Price and Gaz. After a bit of a firefight to ensure the Shadow Company won't chase us, it's revealed why Shepard and Graves betrayed us. Laswell found out about an off-the-books missile transaction which was to some allies, however it was run by Shepard and the Shadow Company. It all went a bit tits up and they were ambushed by the Russians. As it was off the books, Shepard refused to send in air support and the Russians killed the entire squad. The Russians got a hold of the Shadow Company comms and gave the missiles to Hassan. Shepard and Graves tried to cover this up and didn't like how close Laswell and the team were getting to uncovering the truth, so wanted to take them out. It's revealed 3 missiles were taken and currently we have only found 2. Hassan has hidden one somewhere else. Price confronts Shepard to try and call off Graves, but with no luck he gives him a warning that he's coming for him once he's done with Graves. 141 and Las Vicarios, who is Alejandro's team, become one, called the Ghost Team, in which Ghost finally takes off his mask, but of course we don't get to see him. The Ghost Team come up with a plan to infiltrate Alejandro's old headquarters and take out Graves. As we work our way through the tunnels avoiding traps, we make our way into the base. Price secures a helicopter and Gaz and Alejandro begin to sweep the interiors. We then split off and join the other side of the Ghost Team. With Price on air support, we play as Soap, making our way towards the headquarters, killing all the Shadow Company in our way. Just as we're about to breach the HQ, we switch back to Gaz and clear out some hangars to locate Valeria and secure the area. We switch back to Soap and Graves is on the run and we must give chase. Price is then shot down. While Ghost stays back to help, Soap and Rodolfo climb the wall and go after Graves. But it turns out he's got a tank. We must locate C4 from around the firing range and take him out, which did feel quite satisfying to say the least. Switching back to a cinematic, Valeria tells us that Hassan is in Chicago. This leads us to a building in downtown Chicago, which is owned by a shell company for the Las Almas cartel, and we finally have the authority to kill Hassan. This mission does look stunning, and I'd love to see a bit more of the city in multiplayer, but I really don't think we'll get the chance to do that. We get to rappel down the building and take out some enemies, which felt really cool, but it was pretty hard being upside down a lot of the time. We finally breach our way into the building and make our way through the server room where Hassan is believed to be held. After we make our way through the rooms of enemies, Hassan has once again just slipped past us. We rappelled down to a lower floor and have to fight waves of enemies, and honestly, at this point it felt like Price wasn't even trying or doing much to help the situation, and it's all kind of down to you. After this, we move down the stairwell where Gaz informs us that Hassan is cornered. We're just a little late to the party and the missile is launched. We work our way through the floor and believe that Hassan is now stuck and cornered in a room. Once more, he outsmarts us, breaches out with his men, almost takes us down, and with Price being shot in action. We chase Hassan down through an elevator shaft where I was pretty happy to finally get him. However, his soldiers aren't far off and we steal the missile controls and have to run. This is where we have to go full sweat mode, and all those times and hours on Warzone really pays off. We must avoid AQ while also trying to disarm the missile. This did feel a little tricky as you're left to your own devices and just kind of have to run around until you detonate it. After you detonate the missile, you then have to take out Hassan's guards. Luckily, I came across a knife, which did make things a little easier. As soon as you take out the guards, Hassan shoots you down and drags you up the floor to try and throw you out a window. Soap informs Ghost to watch the window, and we now have to take the shot as Ghost. Now there's no other moment when I just had to miss my shot. Finally, we drop Hassan. The closing cinematic leads Laswell to tell Price about the Russian that ambushed the convoy, which turns out to be no other than Makarov. After the credits roll, we see a cinematic for the opening of No Russian. If you watch the full credits after this, you're greeted by a photo of 141 and a mysterious face hiding in the background. Could this be Ghost? Now that's the entire Modern Warfare 2 campaign. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it and check out some more Modern Warfare 2 content by clicking on the screen now. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.